Even as we grieve, we give thanks for this most faithful life. I pray for the guidance and help of Almighty God.
For generations, the British monarchy has survived shocking controversies, painful family rifts, and unforgettable palace moments that captured the world's attention. Even so, very few announcements have sent waves across Britain quite like this one. It arrived without warning and instantly sparked questions, speculation, and intense debate from royal watchers everywhere, in a development that reportedly caught even seasoned royal insiders completely off guard.
I'm reminded of the deeply touching letters, cards, and messages which so many of you have sent my way.
King Charles is said to have made a decision that could dramatically alter Queen Camilla's future and reshape the monarchy's path for years to come. Across the United Kingdom, conversations quickly erupted as people tried to understand what such a major step could mean for the crown, the royal family, and the institution's future. Some believe it could mark the beginning of a completely new chapter, while others wonder whether it could create even deeper divisions behind palace walls. So, do you think this is the right decision for the future of the royal family? Share your thoughts in the comments below. To help us bring you more videos and cover the latest royal developments and headline-making moments, please subscribe. Then came what many are calling the constitutional decision. In what felt like only a few moments, history itself seemed to stand completely still. The rich velvet curtains inside Clarence's house shifted gently as King Charles stepped forward into the bright burst of flashing cameras. Every movement was watched closely, every expression carefully studied. His face appeared weighed down with emotion, and his voice carried a noticeable tremble as he addressed both the nation and viewers around the world. Then came the statement almost nobody saw coming, the kind of announcement that seems to stop time and send shockwaves through generations. Her Majesty, the Queen Consort Camilla, is to forfeit her royal title effective immediately, pending a full investigation. A stunned silence swept across the gathered reporters before gasps spread through the room like a sudden gust racing through dry leaves. The atmosphere instantly grew heavier. It felt as though the walls themselves carried the weight of those extraordinary words. In modern royal history, it would be almost impossible to recall a reigning monarch publicly appearing to break such a significant bond with this level of finality and emotion. Nearby, the Queen Mary's crown remained displayed on its pedestal, its magnificent setting sparkling with the icy brilliance of the Cullinan diamonds and other remarkable jewels. What had long represented continuity and unity now seemed to stand quietly as a symbol of growing division. Its dazzling beauty contrasted sharply with the tension hanging over every corner of the hall. Palace aides stood frozen, barely daring to breathe. One quietly whispered under his breath, "It's done." Outside, reporters pushed forward, calling out question after question, but their voices were swallowed by the slow, solemn toll of church bells echoing beneath London's grey skies. Behind the Grand Palace walls, the royal household was facing one of its most unsettling moments in years. One question hung over everyone involved, impossible to ignore. What could possibly push a king towards such a dramatic decision? According to claims attributed to Buckingham Palace insiders, the reason was not rumor or idle speculation, but something physical that demanded attention. A sapphire brooch, not just any piece of jewelry, but one said to have once belonged to the late Princess Diana. The brooch reportedly appeared without warning at a Geneva auction, sending shockwaves through royal circles. How it ended up there quickly became the biggest mystery until investigators allegedly traced its journey to Raymill House, Camilla's private residence in Wiltshire. Before long, attention reportedly turned to a confidential intermediary who is now said to be under close scrutiny by palace investigators. It was Princess Anne who reportedly sounded the first alarm, relying on the sharp instincts for which she is well known. Prince William, deeply protective of his mother's memory, pushed for clear answers. Catherine, remaining calm, composed and determined, is said to have encouraged her father-in-law to act without delay. "Protect the crown," she is said to have told him quietly, "no matter the cost." When the decisive moment arrived, King Charles reportedly signed the decree with visibly trembling hands. The pen seemed unusually heavy, as though every stroke carried the burden of centuries of royal duty, tradition, and personal heartbreak. His voice remained controlled, yet filled with determination. The crown must remain pure. With those words, what once seemed unimaginable suddenly became reality. The British monarchy now appears to stand at a delicate crossroads, still impressive but facing serious questions. An institution built upon loyalty, tradition, and legacy now finds itself surrounded by growing debate over responsibility and accountability. How does a family rooted in centuries of history respond when trust itself is called into question? Beyond the palace gates, people across the world continue watching with fascination, surprise, and even sympathy. Inside, hallways once defined by quiet routine are now filled with uneasy silence. Staff members quietly exchange whispers while senior advisors meet behind closed doors. The atmosphere feels weighed down by unanswered questions and secrets that have yet to emerge. Could this become the moment that reshapes the future of the monarchy? Could one missing sapphire brooch, whether misplaced, stolen, or sold, unravel a legacy built over generations? Or is it only the first sign of a much deeper story involving broken trust, tested relationships, and history repeating itself once again? To truly understand this extraordinary moment, it is necessary to look back. Behind this announcement lies far more than a royal controversy. It is a story of inheritance, rivalry, grief, and guilt, hidden beneath the splendor of the monarchy. It is the story of how a sapphire brooch, once viewed as a treasured symbol of affection, allegedly became the spark for one of the most extraordinary royal reckonings in recent memory. And so, as the church bells continue to toll and the palace gates remain closed, one truth becomes clear. What unfolded was presented as more than another royal controversy. It marked the opening of a dramatic new chapter in the monarchy's long history, where loyalty, love, and legacy seem to collide beneath the weight of the crown. Before the king's reported announcement, was Camilla questioned about the discovery? How did she respond when the issue was reportedly raised? Did she deny the claims? Let's find out. King Charles and William's silent verdict. Just a few days earlier, on November 8th, London's Royal Albert Hall carried an atmosphere of quiet reflection during the Festival of Remembrance. Gentle red and golden lights filled the hall, casting soft shadows across members of the royal family. Camilla stood beside King Charles, with one hand resting lightly on his arm, presenting the image of a supportive partner. She smiled during the hymns, bowed respectfully throughout the prayers, and carried herself with her usual calm confidence. To television cameras, everything appeared steady, graceful, and united. Yet those watching King Charles closely noticed something different. His expression didn't seem to reflect the warmth surrounding the occasion. It wasn't obvious anger, nor was it affection. Instead, there appeared to be an emotional distance, as though he were quietly wrestling with something difficult. That evening, according to the narrative, the distance no longer stayed hidden. It reportedly became action. Behind palace doors, King Charles and Prince William were said to have reached the same conclusion. Publicly, the reported decision was described as an administrative matter, simply another adjustment to royal responsibilities. But according to palace sources, one word continued to surface behind closed doors: final. Outside Buckingham Palace, steady November rain drifted through the fog as reporters waited, sensing an important turning point could be approaching. Inside, the lights in the Queen's private rooms reportedly remained on long after much of the palace had gone quiet. No public statement followed. Perhaps none was considered necessary. Sometimes, silence becomes the loudest message of all, leaving room for endless speculation about what remains unsaid. By then, the decision was said to have already been settled, long before any official document was prepared. Later that same evening, Charles reportedly met privately with William. A palace aide claimed the discussion lasted less than 20 minutes before the king delivered a calm but determined conclusion. This must come from both of us, not as father and son, but as crown and heir. Within hours, the foundations of the joint announcement were drafted. From the very beginning, it was clear that the reported response would stop well short of stripping away royal titles or making any direct accusation against Camilla. Any move that dramatic could send dangerous shockwaves through a monarchy already facing health concerns, intense public attention, and constant speculation. Instead, the statement was carefully shaped with polished language that sounded measured on the surface, but carried a much firmer message beneath every carefully chosen word. It spoke about integrity, transparency, and a renewed commitment to public service. Yet behind those calm and reassuring phrases, many believed there was a far stronger signal being delivered. What appeared to be a routine procedural step could also be viewed as a carefully managed effort to reinforce authority while avoiding unnecessary public confrontation. Every sentence seemed designed to say only what was absolutely necessary, leaving the rest open to interpretation. When the final version reportedly reached Camilla, she read every line once, then slowly went back through it again. She never signed the document, and according to the account, she didn't need to. The message had already been delivered. Everything she was expected to understand appeared to be hidden between the carefully written lines, leaving little room for doubt about its intended meaning. Later that evening, she returned to Clarence's house. Members of the household reportedly said she dismissed her driver earlier than usual before spending the rest of the night alone inside her drawing room. Resting on a small table nearby was an unsealed envelope carrying only 3 handwritten words, "To my king." Nothing else was added. Nothing more seemed necessary. By the time dawn arrived, many felt the atmosphere surrounding the monarchy had quietly shifted, as though an invisible crack had formed beneath an institution built on centuries of tradition. Soon afterward, the joint statement was released. Barely 100 words long, it still carried enough weight to dominate headlines across Britain and beyond. It announced that Queen Camilla would reportedly step back from her individual public duties, while emphasizing that the king and his heir remained united in their commitment to transparency, stability, and preserving the monarchy's heritage. The carefully measured wording invited calm, yet it also fueled endless discussion about what might have been left unsaid. The public largely heard diplomacy. Inside palace circles, however, some reportedly interpreted the move very differently. That same evening, Clarence House's private wing reportedly became unusually quiet. Secretaries were reassigned, press responsibilities shifted, and an unmistakable sense of change settled across the residence. Camilla was said to have declined every phone call and every gesture of sympathy. One aide later recalled seeing her standing alone at the window, watching rain blur the city lights while quietly whispering, "They've rewritten my purpose." Meanwhile, at Windsor Castle, Charles reportedly shared a private dinner with William and Princess Anne. There were no cameras, no prepared remarks, only a quiet conversation among 3 senior royals carrying enormous responsibility. Charles appeared visibly exhausted, older than he had seemed only days before. Finally, he broke the silence. "It's done," he reportedly said. She was never the enemy, only the storm. Anne, known for her directness, reportedly answered without hesitation. "The crown doesn't survive storms through kindness, it survives through silence." William spoke very little, but those present believed he fully understood both the personal cost and the institutional responsibility behind the reported decision. As that difficult evening came to a close, one question remained impossible to ignore. How did this entire situation truly begin? And what hidden event first set these developments into motion? Stay tuned. Camilla and the monarchy's hidden power. To understand how the monarchy arrived at this delicate point, it is necessary to look back, far beyond the cameras and dramatic headlines, into the quiet rooms where influence is often exercised, away from public view. When Charles finally ascended the throne, the world watched a man embrace the destiny that had awaited him for decades, while beside him stood a woman stepping into the royal role she had spent years preparing to claim. To many observers, Camilla's journey to the throne seemed like the closing chapter of a long and turbulent story. She had weathered years of controversy, public criticism, and the lasting shadow of Princess Diana. Yet she remained standing. Beneath her calm public image, many believed she possessed a remarkable ability to influence events without drawing attention to herself. She never appeared to force her opinions or push herself into the spotlight. Instead, she was often seen as someone who moved with quiet confidence, encouraging decisions while rarely appearing to direct them. During the first months of King Charles's reign, she was widely viewed as a dependable partner, gracious, composed, and always ready with a warm smile. The media frequently praised her reading room initiative, describing it as evidence of her growing interest in literature and public service. Yet influence, once established, often expands in subtle ways. According to reports and palace speculation, some insiders eventually began referring to what they jokingly called the Camilla Doctrine, an approach built on persuasion, relationships, and carefully developed trust. While many members of the public believed the king's lighter schedule simply reflected medical advice, others inside palace circles claimed a different dynamic was slowly taking shape. As Charles reportedly reduced his public engagements, Camilla was said to spend more time with a close group of trusted advisors at Clarence House, including a retired journalist, a former political aide, and a longtime family friend. At first, these meetings appeared completely ordinary, offering support to a queen facing unprecedented public attention. Gradually, however, those conversations were said to become more influential. Reports, speeches, and schedules reportedly passed through her office before reaching the king. Her manner remained calm, respectful, and reassuring, but some palace officials noticed subtle administrative changes. The adjustments were small enough to avoid immediate attention, yet noticeable enough to suggest that priorities were gradually shifting. The order of precedence reportedly changed in small ways, patronages were reassigned, and meetings reorganized. Little by little, some believed the rhythm of palace life was evolving around those decisions. William and Catherine continued to remain publicly diplomatic, observing developments without open criticism. Princess Anne, however, appeared to notice what others seemed determined to overlook. During one private conversation, Princess Anne reportedly cautioned Charles that the situation was beginning to resemble a court within a court, warning that history had seen similar patterns before. Charles, however, defended Camilla, insisting she was simply helping him shoulder the responsibilities of the crown, rather than attempting to control them. His trust in her appeared complete, perhaps more complete than some around him believed was wise. By late 2025, the change remained almost invisible to the public, yet those inside palace walls were said to recognize it clearly. Camilla had reportedly become a quiet center of influence, with her presence reaching beyond palace corridors and into wider circles of decision-making. With every reported choice she helped shape, the distinction between support and authority appeared to grow less defined. Then came another unexpected development. According to the narrative, an audit uncovered a significant discrepancy, sending fresh waves of speculation through the palace. What exactly had been discovered, and how far could the consequences reach? Keep watching to find out. Shadows behind the crown. King Charles III sat alone in the dim light of his private library at Buckingham Palace. The silence felt overwhelming, interrupted only by the distant sound of wind moving through the royal gardens. Resting before him was a letter bearing the royal crest, its contents brief, formal, and unmistakably restrained. The letter came from Queen Camilla's office, informing him that she would not attend the upcoming 50th anniversary celebration of the Royal Charitable Trust. The explanation pointed to scheduling commitments, yet Charles reportedly believed there was another reason. In his view, it was not duty keeping her away, but emotional distance. That single page struck him more deeply than many of the physical challenges he had already endured. To the public, it appeared to be nothing more than another routine royal announcement. To Charles, according to this account, it felt like a deeply personal disappointment, reinforcing the feeling that the woman standing beside him during official appearances was absent when he needed support the most. The fire flickered quietly before him as his tired eyes remained fixed on the flames. His hands slowly tightened, and the weight of the crown seemed heavier than ever. In that moment, he reportedly resolved that he would not allow uncertainty or unanswered questions to define his legacy. his thoughts drifted back to one of the most difficult periods of his life. Early in 2024, he had spent time recovering in a quiet room at Sandringham, where pale winter sunlight filtered gently through silk curtains while long shadows stretched across the room. Medical equipment sounded steadily in the background, each quiet tone reminding him of the serious health battle he faced. Cancer had tested both his strength and endurance, leaving even ordinary moments physically exhausting. Yet, according to this version of events, the deepest pain was not physical, but emotional. It claims that Camilla never visited, never called, and offered no personal words of comfort during that period. Meanwhile, newspaper front pages continued featuring smiling photographs of her at public engagements, dressed with elegance and praised as a symbol of royal stability. Queen Camilla, timeless grace, the headlines declared, celebrating her as the face of stability. As he lay awake in his hospital room, Charles believed the glossy headlines were hiding a very different reality. Behind the polished photographs and carefully managed public image, he felt completely alone. In his mind, the woman standing beside him in public no longer seemed emotionally present when he needed her most. Every smiling picture published across the front pages only made the distance between them feel greater. During the quiet hours of recovery, Charles reached for an old photo album beside his bed. The faded photographs brought back memories that seemed impossible to escape. There was Diana, smiling during the summer of 1987 at Highgrove. She appeared warm, natural, and comfortable, without needing royal jewels or grand titles. Looking through those images, he found himself reflecting on choices that had shaped both his personal life and the monarchy's future. He also remembered a conversation years earlier at Kensington Palace. Diana's voice had been calm but firm as she warned, "If you choose her, you'll lose both." At the time, he brushed those words aside. Now they echoed through his thoughts during the long nights at Sandringham. Those memories forced him to confront painful questions about loyalty, sacrifice, and the consequences of the past. He wondered whether he had given up love, public trust, and peace of mind only to find himself carrying responsibilities that felt increasingly lonely. But what hidden betrayal could wound deeper than duty itself, leaving Charles haunted by whispers of loyalty, power, and irreversible loss? Stay tuned. The confrontation and collapse. On the evening of October 11th, the royal palace released a brief statement that immediately attracted attention. Her Majesty the Queen Consort will assist with an internal inquiry regarding the provenance of certain royal heirlooms. The wording sounded calm and professional, but many believed it hinted at growing tensions behind palace walls. Inside Clarence House, the atmosphere reportedly became far more serious. The Maple Room, once used for preparations connected to the king's coronation, now felt more like a formal hearing than a royal gathering. King Charles sat at the head of the table with a tired but determined expression. Princess Anne sat to his right, composed and watchful. Prince William and Catherine, the Princess of Wales, remained seated to his left, both quiet as the discussion unfolded. Across the table sat Camilla. Her familiar pearl necklace had been replaced by a simple gold chain, a small detail that drew quiet attention. The room remained silent until she finally spoke. "You all think I stole something," she said. Her eyes shifted toward Charles before she quietly asked, "Do you think I stole her?" The meaning was immediately understood. Her referred to Diana, whose memory still lingered throughout the royal family. Charles answered after a long pause, his voice strained but steady. "It's not about her," he said. "It's about the crown and what people believe." Instead of another ordinary palace discussion, the meeting quickly turned into one of the most tense moments in this unfolding royal story. Princess Anne quietly placed a thick folder on the table. Stamped confidential, it contained documents, photographs, and signatures that, according to those present, demanded serious attention. "These speak for themselves," Anne said firmly. Camilla looked down at the folder before quietly replying, "These were not my orders." Prince William leaned forward. "Then tell us whose they were," he said. "Silence will only make this worse." For several long seconds, nobody spoke. Finally, King Charles broke the silence. "Who signed it is no longer the issue," he said. "Ambiguity is poison to the crown." The room grew even heavier. Camilla insisted she had devoted years of service to the royal family and never expected to face such a moment. Anne remained composed. "No one is trying to destroy you," she replied. "But trust, once lost, rarely returns." Catherine then spoke with quiet conviction. "These jewels are more than ornaments. They represent history and legacy. When one disappears, part of that history disappears with it." By midnight, a decision had reportedly been reached. The Privy Council would meet at dawn, and Camilla would be asked to step back from her role. After everyone left, Charles remained alone in the maple room, staring toward the crown before quietly whispering, "The crown endures." The following morning, October 13th, reporters crowded outside the palace as King Charles entered the Grand Hall. Standing beside senior members of the royal family, he addressed the nation. "With profound sadness, I confirm a decision not made lightly. The crown must remain above reproach." He continued by explaining that the reported decision was intended to preserve confidence in the institution rather than act out of anger. "The crown is more than jewels," he said. "It is trust between the sovereign and the people. That trust must never be broken." Silence filled the hall as cameras flashed. Across Britain, reactions poured in as the announcement dominated headlines and sparked widespread discussion. When the address concluded, William remained beside his father, while Catherine quietly offered her support. Charles lowered his head before leaving the hall, carrying the weight of the moment with him. As evening settled over London, the palace returned to silence. Charles reflected alone, believing that leadership sometimes requires decisions that carry lasting personal consequences. Whatever people believed about the day's events, one thing remained clear in this story. The monarchy had entered a new chapter shaped by difficult choices, responsibility, and the enduring importance of public trust. Because in the end, a lasting legacy is not defined only by crowns or ceremonies, but by the choices made when an institution faces its greatest tests. Do you think the monarchy made the right decision in choosing to protect its traditions and historic royal treasures? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your opinion. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss our latest royal stories, breaking updates, and exclusive discussions. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.